Okay, so the course of fire for the North Dakota Concealed Weapons Class Shooting Proficiency Test. The first stage is from the 7-yard line. On the firing command, you will draw your handgun from a secured holster and you'll fire one magazine, which will be loaded with 6 rounds normally, or one fully loaded cylinder of the revolver with the normal shooting hand or your dominant hand. You will then reload, so you'll be empty, you'll reload and then fire one magazine or another fully loaded cylinder with the normal support hand. So you're going to switch hands after that reload. All rounds will be fired from a standing position. The time limit for the stage is 45 seconds if you have a 5-shot revolver, 55 seconds for a pistol or a 6-shot revolver, 60 seconds for a 7-shot revolver, 65 for an 8 or 9-shot revolver. Most people have a 6-shot revolver or a pistol, and so normally this will be 55 seconds that you have to complete this in. The second stage is at the 15-yard line. On the firing command, you'll draw your handgun from a secured holster and fire another magazine, loaded with 6 rounds typically for a pistol, or you'll fire your 6-shot revolver. If you have a different shot revolver, those are down at the bottom. After you've fired those rounds, you'll then reload and you'll fire another 6 rounds, usually, from the kneeling position, okay? And then typically people have a pistol or 6-shot revolver, so you get 60 seconds for that. So 55 seconds for the first stage, 60 seconds for the second stage. Minimum passing score is you have to have 70% of the available holes on the paper, and that's an 8.5 by 11 colored sheet of paper. Okay. So we'll demonstrate this. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate the stage 1 of the shooting proficiency test. I have a par time here set on an app on my phone, which will give me a start signal. I'm going to draw, fire 6 rounds because I'm shooting a pistol, reload, switch to my normal support side hand, which for me is my left hand, and then fire 6 more rounds. A couple things about it. One, okay, after you've fired your 6 rounds, you reload and you switch. When you switch hands, it's very important. Keep your finger off of the trigger and outside the trigger guard. When you transfer the firearm, kind of do it like this, very carefully. Now, some people will want to use the normal firing hand as a support hand. Most people don't train that way. Do not make, I don't recommend making this your test, the shooting proficiency test, the first time to do that. Because under the stress of the test, people cross their thumbs back, they get slide bit, and they do things that are unsafe. You can fail the shooting proficiency test for doing things that are unsafe, regardless of how many times you hit the paper, okay? Just by virtue of my training, if I'm shooting with my left hand, it's usually because my right hand is busy or would be injured, and so I'll just be using it with my support hand only. But you could fire like this as well for that second 6 shots, okay? Okay. All the hits are on paper. So something I should mention about this first stage of fire is that you have a lot of time if you're an experienced shooter. So it's something good to practice so that you might be able to pace yourself and use this to your advantage. You want to get all 12 of these first hits on paper at the 7-yard line. Most people, they're going to find that their accuracy is going to be worse at 15 yards and have a harder time hitting the paper. So if you want to get 70% of your hits on, try to get your first 50% on at the first stage. It allows you a little bit more leeway to miss the paper at the 15-yard line. Now I'm going to demonstrate stage 2. This is at the 15-yard line. You need to take a little bit more time on your sights to get a good sight picture, and a little bit more time on your trigger to make sure that you have good trigger control. Any type of mistakes that you would make at the 7-yard line that would get you closer to the outside portion of the paper, those mistakes, if they're at 15-yard line, are going to be completely off the paper. It's going to be more than twice the distance. So you're going to need to make sure that you have a little bit more target shooting type of accurate shots at this stage. So the first 6 are going to be standing, reload, and then the second 6 shots will be from kneeling. The par time set is 60 seconds. Still about 25 seconds to go. Let's go ahead and walk down and take a look at the target. Took a lot more time between shots there, but I still had plenty of time to go. Make sure you know how to practice reloading your gun. Okay. And this is the target. If we look at these, we got one down here. Just ran out of time actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So 100%, all 24 shots are on the target. A couple were on the outer edge, but everything was on the paper. So that's definitely a pass. Next up, I'll show you how to do this a little bit slower so you can use the time that you have. Maybe kind of get a feel for pacing things. Okay, what I'm going to try to do this time is try to slow myself down and make use of the time that I'm allotted in the test to make sure, especially on the first stage, that I get all 12 shots on paper. So I have 55 seconds, quite a bit of time if you know how to reload your gun pretty quickly. About 7 seconds to go after that last shot. So I'm trying to maximize, I think there's a buzzer right there. I'm trying to maximize the time that I have so I can make sure I have very accurate shots and get all 12. Okay, so here I'm back at the 15-yard line. I'm going to try to take a little bit more time. I think I had 20 some odd, 25 seconds remaining after the last time I shot this. So I'm going to try to see if I can use a little bit more of that time to maybe keep my grip a little bit tighter, even here at the 15-yard line. Now, from a strategy standpoint, I only have to get 70% to pass. So if I've taken my time and gotten the first 12 shots on, I only need 5 more rounds to hit that paper out of the next 12 shots. Some people find it difficult to hit the piece of paper consistently here, but you only have to hit it 5 out of 12 times. So take the time, even if you had to take the next 60 seconds could get those 5 perfect shots on paper and you ran out of time for the remaining 7 shots, you'd still have the requisite 17 hits on the paper, 70% pass, even if you didn't take the other shots. So as long as you can hit it 17 times within that time frame, whether it's a miss or not, you're still you're going to pass. Okay, so that can be a potential strategy. Go ahead and make ready. And there's the timer. So that's about a good pace to get off all 12 rounds. Let's go down and take a look, see how I did. Other than one little straggler there, that's all at a fist-sized group there on the paper. All 24 rounds are on the paper. So that's all you need to do is get 17 of those to pass. And that's it. Good luck. So just a couple more tips for you. When you go to approach the test is you're being tested, so you may feel quite stressed out. We'll probably run you through, let you do a practice to get a feel for it, but you should have practiced before you come as well. And then we'll allow you to take the test. You do get up to 3 attempts to try to pass the test, time permitting, and so we'll try to get you through it. A couple things you want to keep in mind. I think the big thing is that it's kind of like golf. If somebody's golfing and they get really frustrated, they start getting upset or concerned or more stressed out because they've missed or they've sliced the ball the wrong way or something, it tends not to improve your golf game. It tends not to improve your shooting either. So remember, you can miss 8 shots. Let me see, 25, 24. So you can miss 7 shots. You can miss 7. Hopefully you're not missing any at the 7-yard line, but even if you are, if you miss a few there, even if you miss your first shot, that can be one of the most devastating things. You miss your first shot at the 7-yard line, and then then you really start kind of shaking and freaking out. And sometimes you start shooting faster because of that anxiety and stress and adrenaline rush that you're feeling. So remember, you can miss. Misses are fine. As long as they're still going into the bullet trap and they're not grotesquely dangerous, but the missing the paper is fine. You can miss the paper and you can do fine and pass it. Most people don't pass with 24 out of 24 shots, so you might not be that get 100% either. So don't worry about that. The goal is to pass it and to get your Class 1 permit. So be mentally and psychologically prepared for misses. Remember that. Take a nice deep breath, relax, and then focus on your fundamentals. A good sight picture, hard focus on the front sight. Really have that zoomed in, your eyes like a camera lens. Zoom in on that front sight, make sure you have a good sight picture, and then gradually build pressure on that trigger until you get a surprise break and it goes off. Okay, you'll get good hits that way. Try not to make the gun go off by jerking the trigger or mashing the trigger. And take your time. You have quite a bit of time for this. A number of people don't practice reloading unless they're experienced or competitive shooters. They just don't practice reloading their magazines, especially for a revolver. If you're going to bring a revolver, it's a little bit more challenging. So you can get snap caps or some type of fake bullet thing. Practice reloading in a safe way, but definitely practice reloading. Make sure that you can efficiently, get that old magazine out, get the new one in, rack that slide forward, and continue on with the rest of that string of fire, because that reload is on the clock. It is eating up time that you could be using, to better align your sights and to gradually build pressure on the trigger. But, with some practice, you'll do well and you should be able to pass. So good luck.